Hello and welcome to another Spectrum Geeks video. My name is Dale and in today's video we're installing these. It's the Hero Camper Footboards on my Hero Camper Ranger. Okay, so in a moment we're going to open up the box. I'll show you what's inside and then we're going to go through the installation process. Before anyone says anything, yes, my camper is a bit dirty. If you watch other videos on the channel, I'm still in the process of renovating a house, so we don't get away as often as we normally would. But we've got a trip coming up, so I'm going to finally get around to installing these. And again, if you are in the UK and you want a set of these, get in touch with Fun Fit Adventure. There's a link down in the description and Richard will definitely let us sort you out with these. So let's show you what's in the box and then we'll go through the install process on the Hero Camper. So when you order this package, it comes in two reasonably large boxes, but everything comes really well packaged, so it's not going to get dented, damaged and scratched as you kind of go through the transport process, so it's nice and ready to install. So there's an instruction booklet as well that comes with the footboard, so we will reference that as we do the install. And it's really good actually. It comes already with information about the tools that you're going to require. So you need a drill with a 10mm drill bit. Obviously we're going through metal, so it should be a metal drill bit. We're going to need two 13mm spanners, a 12 one, a 19, a pencil and some zinc spray. So the zinc spray is quite important. If you don't have zinc, I think you could use some hammer or something. That's going to stop any kind of rusting and corrosion, obviously after you drilled in to the alloy where the footboards mount. One thing that's important to know about the information supplied by Hero Camper, they advise that you don't leave the footboards on all the time. So obviously I've not used them yet. When we finish the install, I'll give you my opinion. Again, just my opinion. You should always follow the manufacturer's instructions. If I think they are on tight and sturdy enough, you wouldn't need to remove them every single time. So again, let's look at what comes in the box. So obviously the manual for instructing. You then get a template, which is going to be for knowing where to screw things in and keep everything all lined up. A little baggie with a bunch of bolts, washers and nylon nuts. Obviously the biggest and largest item is this, the footboard itself, and then wrapped up inside the foam is the mounting arms. Which look like this. Obviously there's two of those. This is what mounts to the frame of the Hero Camper and enables those footboards to slide on. So let's kind of transition over to the camper, get ourselves on the floor, probably going to get a bit dirty, grab some gloves, drills and what have you, and work out how exactly we're going to mount them. I also recommend as part of the tools perhaps some masking tape or something that can help hold things in place loosely but won't leave a sticky residue when you've finished. Right, so before we get going with the actual installation, please don't skip this bit, it is important. So this is my disclaimer part of the video. Now, I am not a mechanic, I'm not someone who's qualified to work on campers and camper chassis and all this sort of thing, but I do feel competent as a DIYer. If you do not feel confident that you can do this, please get someone else to do it. I'm not affiliated with Hero Camper, I'm not a Hero Camper reseller or anything. This is just going to be my approach to kind of installing these steps, and if something goes wrong or you hurt yourself, unfortunately I take no responsibility. And on that note, I guess because health and safety is important, I'll note a couple of things here. So obviously you're going to be drilling into metal. Metal has little shavings that pop off all over the place. If it goes in your skin, it can really hurt, so cover yourself up. I'm going to put my old scruffy DIY jumper on in a moment. When I do that, if it goes in your eyes, it could blind you or something, so I want to make sure you wear safety goggles or safety spectacles as well. And if you feel the need, you might want to wear a mask or something in case you worry about something in your mouth. I'm okay that I don't need to do that. Also, I recommend when drilling into metal having some form of oil, so WD-40 or some 3-in-1 that you can spray into that area to help the drill bit keep cool. It also stops the metal bits going all over the place and has things under control a little bit. I also recommend, depending on where you're cutting this, obviously those little metal bits can go into your foot, into a tyre, into a trainer or something, so I will have this old 1-ton bag that I will lie on to take care of that as well. Also, I'm not going to follow the instructions 100% in terms of what Hero Camper have said, and I'll go through that briefly now. Not because I think there's anything wrong with it, just I think I can do it a little bit easier and tweak a couple of things with my own recommendations to give me some more assurance in it. Another point, obviously, take your time with this as well. For example, when you use a zinc spray, this particular one is touch dry in 30 minutes. So once you've got all the drilling done, spray it, perhaps kind of have a cup of tea or something. So the real kind of two bits that I'm going to do slightly differently is part 4 of the instructions here mentions that when you've drilled a couple of the pilot holes, to then mount the whole foothold or the foot piece and kind of hold that in place and then mark the other drilling points. I'm not going to do that because I'm doing this on my own. I haven't got someone to help. So to try and hold things up in place, balance things, and then mark things, it's going to be a bit difficult. So I won't be doing that, and you'll see that in the videos ago. And I'm not using a pencil. I'm going to use a Sharpie, so I can be 100% sure that mark's not going to kind of rub off or get out of the way with oil on me smudging or anything like that. Also, in my experience, when you try and drill slightly larger holes in metal, the drill bit can tend to skip around a little bit. So instead of going straight with a 10mm drill bit, I'm going to use this small, it's a 3.5, yeah, 3.5mm drill bit, just to kind of start me off, to make sure that when I use a larger piece, it's going to be in the right place. There's going to be some small tolerances here, so obviously if you get things in the wrong position, it's not going to go very well. I'm also not going to use all spanners, so obviously we need 13mm, 12mm and 19mm spanners. I'm also going to use a socket set instead, because it's easier for me to have a spanner on the one side, use a socket, I can get good tension and it will go a bit faster. I can do it up tighter than I could with just the spanners. And there is no torque setting recommended, so I'm not going to recommend anything to you, but one thing that I do recommend, which I always do when working on cars and doing bolts or motorbikes and that sort of thing, is I use an acrylic marker pen. So I just put a little line as to where the bolt was and onto the chassis, and then I can do inspections very quickly before any trip and just see if the bolt has worked loose or anything. So that's it. I'm going to get myself prepped up, put my jumper on, and then I'll do my best to show you from the different angles how we go about installing these steps. Okay, so for the first part of the install, what you're going to need is this kind of positioning bit of cardboard. You're going to notice that there's 2 little holes on one end, 2 larger holes kind of towards the other, and for both of my pieces of card it's the same. It looks like there's only 1 hole, but there's actually 2. So before you kind of get under the camper, just remove any little bit of infill card, so you can definitely see you've got 2 at this end, 2 larger ones, and then 2 at the other end. And when you offer it up, if you notice, these 2 holes are slightly closer to one side or another. Now the thickness of this card matches up with the underside of the camper, so just make sure you have it in the right orientation, or else you're going to put the holes in the wrong place. Now you'll notice that the one set of holes is actually quite close back to the I guess I call it mudguard area of the camper, so the tolerances are close, so just expect that. I think that you can do this by hand. That's how I'm going to do it, by offering it up. If you want to, use some electrical tape or masking tape to hold it in place, and basically at the end of this you're going to want to have marked 4 holes into where you're going to screw into the upside of the chassis. So let's just move the camera and I'll show you the area that you need to be looking at. Okay, so we're underneath, and it's this area of metal here that we're going to be looking at. So if you see along here, and my finger is, this is where these 2 holes are. We're going to line up, and it's going to go all the way along up to just behind here. So I'll position the camera, again like I say, it's a bit tricky, but I'll give you an idea of kind of how you need to get things lined up, so hopefully you can mark your holes in the right place, and I'll show you the markings when I finish just so you can compare it. Okay, so just offering this up with my fingers here. If you can see, I've not marked it yet, but there's the 2 holes, and then the original larger holes just between my fingers there, perfectly lining up with where we need to then do the 2 holes. And then you can use those 2 larger holes again as reference points, run your finger all the way along the end and do the 4 holes at the other end. So I appreciate this angle is not the best, so let me just mark my holes and then I'll show you the finished result. Okay, a slightly better angle, excuse the wind blowing around, but here's the 2 kind of guides that we have, and then over to this side we have, I've got dirty fingers now, where the 2 holes are that I've marked. So if we take that off, we have the 2 black marks there where I'm going to drill, and if we follow all the way along here, you'll see the other 2 black marks. So we're not quite done with the Sharpie yet, but now it's time to get our small drill bit. And then I'm just going to drill the pilot hole to get started. So again, got my jumper on, I've got my goggles, and I don't need any oil for this little bit. I'll drill the hole and then I'll show you, well, drill the start of the hole and show you what that looks like, and then we'll finish it off with the oil and the 10mm drill bit. Okay, so take your time to get lined up. Right on the centre of where we've made our mark. Small hole there, or just the start of the hole. Again, I'll show you what this looks like in a moment. And basically that's what we're trying to get, just a little starter point, so it's somewhere for the 10mm to kind of grab into and then drill our hole. So I'm going to grab the 10mm drill bit, spray a bit of oil, and then get that hole drilled, and do that obviously 4 times on the undercarriage of this area. And there we have it, 1 hole cut or drilled through, and we just need to do that 3 other times on this top rail so it's all set up. So once you're finished, you should have 4 new holes. So obviously on the far right there you can see the original hole, and the 2 that we've done, that's quite near the mounting for like the mud guards. Come all the way down, that one's an original one, and here's our 2 original ones that we had for the marking, and then the 2 new ones. That would have taken you a few minutes to do those holes. You're probably hot and sweaty and covered in little metal bits, but now again this is where my process is going to differ a little bit from the original instructions. So now we need to mark the holes for the main mounting bracket. So you'll notice there are 2 different sizes, just like this. The smaller one here goes closer to the mudguard, and the longer one goes further away because the distances are varied on there. So I'm going to show you that in a minute. You'll notice that each one of these there is this kind of movable kind of swinging metal piece, which is the hole that we're going to have to drill for our next point. And you'll see here there's 2 different kind of nuts. There's a 12mm one here that if we turn it, it moves the whole bolt out, which is what we have to use to adjust that so we get good tension against the chassis. And then when we've finished doing all the installation, we're tightening up that 19mm bolt so that nothing can't move. So it's the holes that we've just drilled is what mounts into here. So what I'm going to do is just grab 2 of the bolts and 2 of the nuts out of the kit that we have. Doesn't need to have any of the washers or anything at the moment, because this is just to roughly help hold it in place so we're not kind of juggling and trying to spin all the things at once. So what we're going to do is offer this up to the holes that we've done. Now this smaller one, it's going to be real quite tight to get in underneath all the other mounting bits, which is why there's a slightly larger hole here. So make sure you get it flush with the top. Put the bolt in, put the nut in on the other side of the chassis, and then we're going to tweak this out so we can then mark the hole of where this needs to go. So I'll position the camera as best I can to show you that. And again, we're actually going to do the same process for both sides. I'll show you with the more difficult side, so that you can kind of comprehend what we need to be doing. So let's get back under there. 2 bolts, 2 nuts, and the Sharpie. Okay, I'm hoping it's going to work. You can see more than just the back of my head. It's quite a difficult angle to get, but it's going to be up here and down here. You need to see, so you should be able to see that all in the camera. So again, we get this smaller piece first. I'm roughing it up this way, so the protruding element that's all black is going to be to the outside of the camper, and like I said, this other piece goes in against the chassis, and it needs to have the hole that we're going to drill through later at the top. So again, because it's quite thick in this area, find your 2 holes that we drilled, and like I said, it is very tight tolerance. And if you drill everything right, obviously it's going to line up. The 1 bolt in through here. Let's pop the nut on the other underside. It'll be much easier for you to do this if you're not trying to dodge a camera. And then just let that rest. Grab the other bolt, put that through the other hole. We really should have evolved to have eyes on the end of our fingers. Okay, so once you put both of those on, you can just let it hang down because it's just supporting itself. So this is, again, if we're doing it the way Hero wanted, they want the whole footstep on there, you'd be holding that all around. So now, I just twist this piece around so it's in the roughly right position, push up on the bolts, and then just wind it out so that that metal piece has pressure against the chassis. It doesn't have to be fully pressured, it's just enough so you can get a mark. So again, now I need to find out where I put the damn Sharpie, just down here. Now we're just going to make a mark exactly where this hole is at the top, and that's going to be the point. Drill through later, and because that moves, we've got a little bit of wiggle room with it. Then take the bolts out, make sure you don't lose them, so just pop them to the side. Just over here for me, and the other one. And you've got a hole, well, a mark now that again you need to drill. So again, we're going to follow the same process, do that on the other side as well. Then again, I'm going to get my 3.5mm drill bit and attempt to drill directly in the middle of that circle we just done. Come back with the larger drill bit, drill the hole, and then we're kind of nearly ready to mount. The next stage is going to be the galvanizing, but again, do that the same on the other side, exactly the same process with the larger one, and then drill the holes. So then we get the holes drilled, and then we'll come back, show you where we're at, and ready to do a quick bit of galvanizing and have a cup of tea. So congratulations, you've now drilled 6 holes in your beautiful, expensive Hero camper. Now just what you need to do is clean off those oily areas so it's all nice and dry. Spray some of your galvanizing zinc spray on there. Again, Hero Camper says I need to do it on the main chassis. I'm doing it on all the holes. It doesn't take long, it doesn't cause a problem. Make sure you read the instructions. Mine is, I think it's like 6 inches, yeah, 6 inches away. Again, if you spray it too close, it's going to drip and not look great, but again, it's underside, it won't matter to you that much. Grab a cup of tea, 30 minutes, and then we'll be back to do the final installation. So let me spray this and I'll be right back in a second and we'll catch up on the next part. Okay, so hopefully the zinc spray is all now fully dried, so we're going to mount the mounting brackets to the chassis of the Hero Camper. So obviously to do that we need the 2 brackets that we use already. They're probably still over by your camper. We're obviously mounting them up to drill those holes, and now we need 1 bolt, 2 of the little washers, and then the locking nut as well. So what we're going to do, grab the bolt, put 1 washer on. I have the head of the bolt on the side I can see, and that's what I'm going to tighten up with my socket. And then on the other side of the chassis, obviously if you imagine the chassis in between on this bolt, the washer will go the other side, then the locking nut, we'll hold on to that with a spanner, and then we'll lock these up nice and tight. And then once it's all installed, I'll show you the little trick I do with the pen, so I can easily check to make sure these bolts don't come loose over time. So let's crack on, get these bolts in, and we're nearly ready to mount the step to the camper and finish this job. Obviously still got to do the other side, but you can do that on your own. Okay, so here we are again. I'm just going to show you the what I consider to be the harder one. So starting off with the bracket, I've got my socket with a 13mm socket piece in and a 13mm spanner, and then I've got everything kind of ready. So I have the bolt with the washer we're going to put up through the top, and then a washer and the nut for the other side. So let me just kind of demonstrate as much best I can with the angles, getting this all set up. You'll find when you kind of first put this on, it's a bit tricky with this spinning around, so don't worry about that too much. So first one's first. Okay, then the washer, then the nut. And for now I'm just doing everything loose. Then get the other nut. Put that there. Watch that. Nut. And then for the bit that connects to the chassis, again we just turn that round, push things up a little bit so that lines up. This side's a bit trickier. Okay, so now everything's roughly held together. I'm going to focus on doing up the top mounts first. So again, just take my spanner, the closed end on the nut at the top there, and then I'm just going to do this up and do the same on both sides. Okay, so that's the mounting to the top of the chassis, nice and tight, and I'm happy with how it is. And you can see there's very small tolerance between that kind of mudguard area and this. Then I just want to make sure that this is positioned nicely and is flipped flush to it. And again, I'll just back off that 19mm nut just slightly so it's kind of out of the way, and then do the same thing and tighten this one up. Okay, so now with that done, we're going to get the 12mm and the 19mm spanner. So the 12mm we don't really need to do too much with. I just like to check that that is nice and tight on there, and that's fine. And then with the 19mm, I just want to backen that bolt off so it makes sure no more of the thread exposes itself due to vibrations. So repeat the same thing on the other side, and then you've got the mounting brackets on, and I'll just show you again what I do with the pen. So I mark a line from the bolt onto the chassis, so again I can just very quickly look and see if anything has moved, because those two lines won't be lined up, and I'll just show you what that looks like. So hopefully you can see there's a line there on the bolt onto the chassis, and then I've done a similar thing up the top, if this will work, on both of the bolts around there. So now it's very quick and easy to just look and see if anything has come loose due to vibrations during travel. So a job well done so far. Everything's fully installed, ready for the final mounting, and what's really good about it looks really flush, doesn't it? So when you've not got these on, I guess as you can see, nothing's protruding from the side for you to kind of bash a leg on or anything. So now it is time to mount the foot plate itself, and I think just before we do that, let's just talk about this point about, obviously Hero Camper don't recommend that you keep these on all the time, and I think the reason for that is, if we look inside, the way this works is when you kind of move this wing nut in, there's only really a slight protrusion of how far that bolt sticks out. I don't know how well you can see on the video, but it probably only sticks out a centimetre, something like that. So in terms of how much it can push and apply pressure against those bars is somewhat minimal. So with vibration, depending on how bumpy the roads are, it is feasible that could work loose and come out. I think the chances are probably low, but I think they're covering themselves. So I'm not sure if I'm going to do this right now. I have to think about it if I can find the right tools. But one option would be, so when you push this on, you're going to push it up flush to where those mounts are. You could mark inside those holes, take it off, and then where the mounting brackets are, drill a hole the same size as the nut, put a thread on it, and then you could thread these up into it, and the chances of them then coming undone would be much more significant, I think. But anyway, let's go push these on. So obviously make sure that the nut is all the way out so that it's going to fit flush, and let's offer it up, see what it looks like. So I'm not sure if this is the best angle, but best I can do. So again, they're going to slide straight on. As mentioned originally, the tolerances are quite low, so I think it's going to be somewhat tricky, but there we go. Slide it on all the way back so it pushes home. Do up those nuts, and again, they're not going into anything, they're just applying pressure to those bars. And there we have it, nice and solid, and looks pretty good. I'm happy with that result, but again, you can see there, very small amount of room between the mudguard area and that, but looks good to me. So I hope this video was helpful. Please like it if you've enjoyed it and you have found it helpful. Leave any comments or questions you have in the comment section. It really helps the YouTube algorithm know this video is worth sharing. I'm really happy with these footboards. Yes, they're not cheap. Yes, you could stick with what I used to have, which was a little kind of plastic fold out stool that I think we've got through like 4 of them now over the how many years you had it, because they do break because you put too much weight on them. But I'm really happy. It looks good, they're sturdy, it all fits in well, and again, not ideal that you kind of really need to take them off, but they slide on off pretty easily and then just stow it in the camper. So again, thanks for watching. Consider liking, consider subscribing if you like some of the content on this channel. If I'm lucky enough, I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourself, and goodbye for now. Happy camping.